So for both types of shopping campaigns, there's some basic things you should understand. Firstly, don't run out of budget. If you, on Google shopping campaigns, you set a budget on a daily basis. If you run out of budget on a particular day, you'll obviously not be advertising and you will be missing out on sales. You need to set a goal for your campaign which is realistic and in line with the market. If you set, for example, a RoAS target which is above what other people are bidding for, then you won't get as many sales as you expect. You shouldn't run Performance Max and standard campaigns for the same product. Performance Max campaigns will take precedence over standard campaigns, so there's no point in having both of them. It's normally better to create campaigns with single locations and languages. Different locations and languages will probably perform differently, so if you split them up, Google will be able to do better targeting and you'll also be able to set your performance targets more accurately. Over time, as your campaign collects data, you will find that some products do not perform as well as others. You might wish to consider excluding these products. If you go into Google reporting, you can find out very easily which products are performing. If you go into Google, under reports, there's a handy report that gives you the performance of your items. If you go to reports and then predefine reports, then shopping, then an item ID, you'll be able to see performance by item ID. I prefer to order things by click so you can see what has cost you the most money and had the most clicks. And there are a number of metrics here which you can use to understand your performance. You can look at the absolute number of conversions. So if you have a product which has very few conversions, it's probably not worth spending any money on. Some people look at cost per conversion. If you have a lot of products which are the same price, or if you think of your sales in terms of the cost of acquiring a customer, this can be a very good measure to use. Obviously, the lower the cost of acquiring a customer, the better. Some items will have widely differing conversion rates. So this one here converts at 3.2%, whereas this one here converts at 0.81%. I prefer the measure conversion value divided by cost, which effectively gives you the advertising cost of sale. So what this is saying is we sold 3 times as much as we paid on advertising, which is not a particularly good measure. Now let's look at how we can actually exclude these items. From within campaigns, if we choose a campaign, this is a Performance Max campaign, so we're going to choose listing groups, which are the products that we sell. Here we have, at the moment, we've got a single group called Tier 1 and we exclude everything else. If we wanted to add a subdivision, we can actually just select individual products. So here, if I choose item ID, then we would actually select the products we want to sell. Now this works very well if you only have a small number of items. If you've got a large number of items, you probably have to exclude the products at the feed level. So stop the products from going from your platform, for example, Shopify, into Google Merchant Center. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that the internet is one big enormous price bun fight with the most sales going to the people with the lowest prices. It's just the way the world is. If your products have higher prices, they will sell less. Lower prices, they will sell more. Question is, how do you manage your pricing? It's always good to have a competitive price. One way of doing that is to use software to monitor prices on other people's websites and reprice against them. It's quite complicated. You'll have to use a third-party app to do that. Within Google itself, there is the option to see how your products benchmark against other people's prices. There's competitive metrics within Google reports, which we'll now take a quick look at. Here I've created a report within reports. What I've done is I've added a number of columns here. The important columns to add, I've got the item ID. So over to the right here, I've got a column called benchmark product price difference, which will show you your performance against Google's benchmark price. You can also see search rank, where you've lost, see how many searches you've lost because your prices were too high or your products weren't otherwise appearing, and also your click share. So that's the percentage of click for this particular product that you received. So using this information, you can edit your prices and see how this affects your performance against these metrics. Google's advertising campaigns are becoming more and more automated. This means that you need to spend less time worrying about the actual configuration of the campaign and more time worrying about the quality of your website and the quality of the data which is going from your website into Google. So think about your feed quality, think about the quality of the images which are being shown on shopping, think about the quality of the descriptions and the titles and also the attributes. The better quality data that you can give Google, the better it will be able to match searches that customers make against your data and your products and will display them more. It's important to have an easy to manage structure. Don't think that segmenting everything to the nth degree. So for example, you could create a different campaign for every product, which could have different targeting for every product. In theory, it would work, but what would happen is you just wouldn't get enough data going into each campaign. So consider that you've got to do something which is manageable over a period of time. This probably means a smaller number of campaigns with more products in them. Finally, be patient. Google takes a while to learn about your products and your business. You would probably need to leave at least a month before you start to really consider whether this is working for you or not. So let's look at the optimization features which are important to Performance Max. I'm going to mention feed quality again because it's so vitally important to Performance Max. You don't have that many levers to pull with Performance Max, and feed quality is one of them. If you can have more keywords, more data in your product feed, then Google will have more to go and it will show your products for more searches. Companies such as Apple are now giving less information to companies like Google and Facebook, which means that they're having more difficulty tracking customers. And that means that the advertiser have to give more information to Google in order to help Google match searches against your products. And Audience Max is done by something called an audience signal. This is where you give information to Google. So, for example, customer lists, and you tell them the kind of categories of customer you're looking for, and also competitors. And this will help Google to boost your campaign performance or learn more quickly about your products. I found this makes an enormous difference to the performance of campaigns. Audience signals are defined at the asset group level. If you go into a Performance Max campaign and then click Asset Groups, you'll see the audience signals on the side here. We can click to edit the audience signal. There are a number of options here. We can create custom segments. These are interest groups. We can tag different types of customers which we think would be interested in our products. Here, this is data that we've added from our website. So it's got conversion data from Google Ads, Google Analytics, and it's also got a list of customers. Like that's a list of emails we downloaded from our website into this system. Interest groups. And finally, demographics. This is all information which you give to Google from your previous experience of selling your products to help it learn. Asset groups go on to create the adverts which Google uses to advertise your products on other parts of Google which are not the shopping ads. So, for example, YouTube, the text ads that you see in search, and also other things like Gmail. So if we just click on an asset group here, I'm going to just quickly set up a new asset group. An asset group is assigned to a group of products. It's called a listing group. And here we can see you can add images, logos, and also add text here, which will go on to create adverts all around Google. You can create a number of asset groups and assign those, for example, at the brand level within your listing group. So you would set a number of listings groups up by brand and then have an asset group for each. The more targeted you can make your asset groups, the better. Because Performance Max is new, you can't actually see how well each particular asset group is performing, but that is something which is going to be coming in the next few months. Finally, with Performance Max, Google recommends using a tiered structure to structure your Performance Max campaigns. Now, it's a criticism of Google Smart shopping campaigns that they tended to focus on the winners. So what would happen is you'd run the campaign for a while, certain products would do well and other products would drop off, and it would just never look at those products which dropped off again. It would only focus on the winners. Now, a way of countering this is to create a number of different campaigns. So you would create, say, if you had a few thousand products, what you would do is you would create a campaign for your top performing products, and then you would create a campaign for your kind of middle performing products and your bottom performing products. What that does is it sets up a different budget for each different section of your products, which means that you should have less of these loser products. The way you would do this is by creating custom labels, which would assign to your products in your feed generating system, which would be something like Shopify. Assign those to the products, though that would go into Google Merchant Center, and then you could use those to segment your products within Google Shopping. Let me just show you how this works in practice. So this is our UK campaigns. You can see we've broken up our products into 5 different tiers. If we click on tier 1, these are our top selling products, and we go to listing groups. If I click on, you can see that this product will only advertise products which have the custom label tier 1. All the other products are excluded, which you can see by this little symbol here. So what that means is we've divided our products up into 5 different groups, which means that the budget is spread more evenly between the products, which means we should have fewer products which don't get attention from Google's algorithm. Moving on to standard campaigns, one of the big differences between standard campaigns and Performance Max campaigns is that on standard campaigns, you can add negative keywords. That means you can see that the searches which are being used to trigger your ads. And you can exclude those keywords which either you think are irrelevant, or you look at the data and you can see that these keywords do not produce a positive return on investment. Secondly, bid adjusters. You can look at things like your devices and your locations, and you can create a bid adjuster. What that is, you can say, okay, for people in London, I want to bid 10% less, or for people who are using a mobile phone, I want to bid 20% less. You have to be slightly careful with this because these things multiply. So if someone's in London, it's minus 10%, and someone is using a mobile phone, it's times 20%. It's going to multiply those two together to give the adjuster for someone who combines both of those things. You should use a logical structure. You should break up your ads perhaps by brand. That'll enable you to do the targeting more carefully. So, for example, if the brand was Apple, you might want to stop your ads from appearing for words like Google or Huawei or something like that. And having a structure which is logically done by a category or a brand means you can more easily do that. You should also look at smart bidding. Smart bidding is where you enable Google to do bidding on your behalf. Though this does give Google a lot of power over your advertising. If you enable it to do your bidding for you, it saves a tremendous amount of time. Let's go into Google and have a look at these things in more detail. If we go into a campaign and then we go to search terms here on the left under keywords, we can see the search terms that have been used to trigger ads. So here we can see the number of clicks and number of impressions. You can set negative keywords here. And here we've got, for example, created something called a keyword group, which is a group of keywords which can be applied to a number of different campaigns. And that's brands we don't sell. So I've made a list of brands we don't sell to make sure that this campaign will not appear for those brands. Under devices, you can see we have a list of devices and you can create a bid adjustment. So if you wanted to bid 10% more on a mobile phone, you would add 10% here. And you could do the same for computers or tablets. You can do a similar thing for other things like, for example, locations and ad schedules. You could have an adjuster for different times of day or different locations. So you could add a new location and you could say target country, Ireland, or you could add a target country within Ireland, so Dublin. Just add Dublin there, and then you could add a bid adjuster for that. So here we go. We'd add the different locations here, and then you would add a bid adjuster to the location. If you want to change how the campaign bids, then you would need to go into the bidding. You can set a bid strategy here. You've got the different types of bidding you can use. So the target RoAS is a smart strategy. But you can also do a manual strategy, which is a manual CPC, where you would just set a maximum bid for a click.